Hey guys, welcome back to Recovery in Real Estate, and I am your host, Abe Slocum. It is good to be back in the studio, and as you can tell, things have changed a little bit. We have readjusted. We took the holidays off and did some brainstorming and wanted to take this to the next level. And we were doing it before from Cypress Title. Great place. My good friend Cheyenne was a big part of this, and she'll actually be my first guest on the next episode, and we will kind of take a deep dive into that and how we came up with it and just our thoughts on it. You know, before we were kind of filming out of, like I said, we were filming out of Cypress Title. We were doing it with 2 cell phones and a CapCut, and that came with a lot of difficulties. It's hard to film a podcast and get everything right with a cell phone. So we haven't filmed, I think, since October, possibly November, something like that, a couple months. The holidays came in and spent time with the family, did some soul searching to try to figure out what direction I wanted the show to go with. And luckily my good friend Ken, and he's a producer and he has this beautiful studio, Ray Media. Shout out to Ray Media. So we are live from Ray Media here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I am solo today. I'm going to talk about what this show is for, what I wanted to start it for, what I wanted to talk about. We kind of jumped into it and I never really explained exactly my vision of this show. So I wanted to kind of talk about that. Like I said, we're just getting back from the holidays. It's the middle of January. You know, a lot of people have goals for 2026. Of course, January's been flying along. A lot has been going on. My world as far as business and family and things like that. So luckily, I was able to take some time out of this wonderful Monday. Happy MLK Day to all, and be able to sit down and finally bring this to you. There's definitely some nerves with it, you know. There's kind of some pushback. I don't know about any of y'all, but whenever I'm doing something, I'll have a great idea, and then sometimes there's no follow through. Or I have a great idea, and then I get worried about actually bringing it to light because maybe I'm worried about what people are going to say or this and that. So here I am on my own doing it, and I can't wait to have some future guests on. So let's talk about recovery in real estate and what exactly that is and what I'm going to be doing and talking about and the guests that I'm going to be having on. So as many of you know, I've been sober since May 24th, 2018, about 7.5 years. Life is taking on a whole another meaning. And you'll hear a lot of people in recovery say that. And, you know, life is moving pretty fast. Here we are, a wife, 3 kids later, 2 careers. And both of my careers, one of my careers, I work for Uprising Addiction Center up in Shreveport, Louisiana. We are an 85-bed facility, male and female. We offer detox, residential, and IOP services. So if you ever need help, give me a holler. And my other job is real estate. I help people buy, sell, invest, flip houses, whatever. I've kind of fallen in love with it. And a lot of my clients that I help are in recovery. So I always think that is one of the coolest things about my job is helping somebody. They hit me up, hey, Abe, I want to buy a house. I don't really know what I'm doing. How does all this work? And I get to, sit down with them and kind of walk them through the process, get them started on the right foot, get them connected to a lender, a trusted, vetted lender that I deal with, or I deal with a couple of them, help them find a house, take them through the home inspection process, explain to them what an appraisal is, and all the stuff that is coming with buying a house. And what's so funny that we're shooting, and here I am talking about buying a house. My wife and I are going to be moving from the home that we've lived in for the last 5 years, and now we are purchasing another house. We actually went officially under contract over the weekend, and there was a ton of emotion filled with that, looking back at the last 5 or 6 years and then where my life was 10 years ago, and to think, man, getting ready to purchase my first house with a wife and 3 kids. It's a weird feeling. There was a lot of happiness, a lot of joy. There was tears of gratitude over the weekend. I catch myself, my eyes getting watery just thinking about it. And this past weekend was the Louisiana Marathon and half marathon, and I had the opportunity to run in the half marathon. That's something I'm always grateful to be able to do, and something I've kind of done throughout my time in recovery as I started running again. It's something I enjoyed back in high school and picked back up once I got sober. My son got to run. I believe this was his fourth race, and it was a weird feeling. This Saturday, he towed up to the starting line for the kids' 1 mile. A couple days before, he had told me, "Dad, I don't want you to run with me. I'm going to run on my own." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever," And we got there Saturday, and he said, "Dad, I want to go to the front. I want to. You don't need to run with me." And I was like, "There's a lot of kids. You might get ran over." And he's like, "No." He's like, "Dad, I'm good." And he went to the front. I watched him, from the sidelines, and that's a strange feeling. The last 3 times he's ran these races, I've ran right behind him and been there to talk to him and kind of console him as my son. And this time I'm running next to him, and I'm like, "You got this." And he's like, "Dad, get away." And I was like, man, it's a weird feeling when your kid's slowly growing up right there in front of your eyes, and he wants to be left alone. But it was an awesome feeling getting to watch him run across the finish line, and he did an amazing job. He ran a 10-minute, 30-second mile, so I'm going to brag on him. It was just so cool to watch him do that, and he ran right to that finish line, and he kept running. They had to tell him to stop. So that was awesome. So yeah, this weekend was filled with a ton of energy for me and my family. We officially went under contract on our next home, which we will raise 3 of our kids in, and have a little space that actually backs up to our producer's house. So that's funny. Kind of wish he had the old backyard studio, because then I could film whenever I want. I'm grateful and happy that he's moved on and expanded his business, and he's growing. He has this wonderful studio here that I can film in. But yeah, so I am walking through the process of buying a house, which is, now I know how the buyers feel. I called my lender, Kristen Malarche, this morning and asked her some questions nervously, and was just like, "Hey, is it okay if I do this or do that?" And she was like, "Yeah, you're good. Send me this, send me that." And I was, I'm nervous about going through this process. Now, I've walked side by side with people through it, but I've never experienced it. So now I'm experiencing it, an exciting but nervous feeling. So let's get back to the recovery in real estate, guys. I came up with this idea with my friend Cheyenne. Actually, I was kind of praying and thinking and brainstorming about how I could reach more people in my community. The recovery world is a big community of mine. Podcasts have been a thing for a long time. Got to be a guest on one of them and watched a lot of people do them. I've listened to a ton of them. Said, what a better idea to bring on former clients and friends of mine who have bought real estate, talk about their journey, talk about their sobriety journey, their home buying journey. So all the guests that I've had on in the last, I believe we shot 6 episodes. Well, five out of the 6 were first-time home buyers. And there was one other, Ethan and his wife, Chastity. Ethan was on. He had, an incredible testimony, from drug court to doctor. I was able to sell one of their homes for them. But all the other guests that I've had on are all first-time home buyers, all in recovery, all different lengths of sobriety. Some 1.5 years, some 3 years, 5 years, 6 years. I say that to say that anything is possible. All these guests have been in very tough situations. They have been in jail, incarcerated, prison, homeless, living out of motels, living out of their car, living on the street. And here they are buying a house a couple years into sobriety. And that's awesome, man. So every time I get to help somebody that's in my community buy a house, it's always so cool. It's such a cool process to be a part of. And it's a wild feeling walking around someone's house and showing someone's house, and I'm in recovery. And I would say more people in recovery will probably get this, but I'm in someone's house and there's all these nice stuff around and everything like that. And it's like I'm walking around with another former alcoholic or former drug addict, and they're looking to buy it, and we're not in that house unwelcome, and that's a good feeling. I've got to walk side by side with a lot of these people all the way to the closing table. So yeah, I am here to tell you that anything is possible. And if you're out there struggling and you don't think that you can do it, or you don't deserve that life, or you have all these legal problems or problems at home or financial problems, and anything is possible. I've seen so many people turn their lives around, and I'm not just talking about guests on my show or people that have bought a house. I've seen so many people, get their kids back after the state has taken them, or, mended broken relationships. And that's the beautiful thing about all of this. I'm just happy to be a part of it. I want to kind of share my testimony with the world, and let people know you can do it too. And, after getting clean and sober and getting your life back together, that you can become a homeowner. And that's so, so cool. That's so awesome. I'm just grateful to be here, grateful to talk about this. I have a good lineup coming to you guys over the next couple months. We're going to be filming twice a month, airing the show on YouTube. The full episodes will be on YouTube, and then I'll be kind of cutting up a lot of clips from the full episode and then pumping them out on social media. And we will talk about a variety of things with our guests. I'll also be coming to you solo from time to time to do some type of educational type stuff, as far as talking about loans and different loan products and what's available to you, assistance, things like that, no money down loans, and kind of just educating everybody on the home buying process, because there's a lot to educate on them, educate about it. Right now, like I said, my wife and I are in the process of buying another house, and we're not really sure what we're going to do with the next house. After that, we have some big plans. I'm not going to really talk too much about that, but I'll talk about that on another episode. And, we had the opportunity a couple months ago to help somebody out, get out of a foreclosure situation, and help them get their house sold. And we were able to get their house sold pretty quickly, cleaned up, kind of like a creative financing flip deal. And what I mean by creative financing is the person whose house it was did not have the money, but they had, some equity in their home. And equity means they had some money. Their house was worth some money, and they could, take that money out and use it to fix it up. We lent them the money to help them fix it up, to get it sold. And we got it sold. The house actually sold in under a day. We had multiple offers in 12 hours. So we did a fantastic job with that. And that was really, really cool to be of service and to be helpful to someone. My next guest will be my good friend Cheyenne from Cypress Title. I'm super excited to have her on. We're going to sit down and talk about how her and I both brainstormed to come up with this idea of exactly what this show was meant to be, because she used to film a lot of real estate content for me, and she was like, Abe, I love your story. You need to talk about that more and let people know about that. And, I was telling her people that I do business with are from the recovery world, and she was like, man, how cool would that be to get them to come in and talk about their experience with you. And then I'm like, man, well, why don't we do that in like this type of setting, a podcast setting? That's how the show kind of came about. So I'm super excited to have her on next, and where this show will be going, guys. It's great to be back in the studio, and I'm just kind of mumbling and going off the top of the head now, but I'm happy to be back, guys. Welcome back to Recovery in Real Estate. Can't wait to bring you new content in 2026. If you have anything that you want me to talk about or have any questions or ideas for future guests, let me know. I have a good lineup of, like I said, past clients and friends that have bought a home. And if you're in the market or, want to talk, sit down and figure out how can I buy a house in 2 or 3 years, man, hit me up. Let me know and we can make it happen. But it's great to be back, and I'll talk to you soon.